everybody. Welcome back to CI Heartland's Heart to Heart interviews. Today, I'm super excited. We have Mr. Joel Meskin. I'm excited to have him. He is a national corporate member. Has been on the CI national board, been probably, I don't know, almost probably every chapter you've presented to. So we're really excited to have you today. Hi, Joel. How are you?
I'm wonderful, dear. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for agreeing to do this with us today.
My pleasure.
I was telling Joel I was a little nervous about this one because he's my first one that's like on the national platform. So I'm excited to have him, and I'm so happy that he said yes. So let's jump right in. Do you know how long you've been involved in CAI?
I know exactly how long I've been involved in CAI. I started out in this industry. I was brought in by E&H Graham, and the time I was brought into E&H Graham, that is when they were the single biggest sponsor of everything CAI, and we had 2 national trade shows a year, and so it was April of 2001, so a little over 20 years.
That's amazing.
And I think I missed one national conference.
Oh, well, wow. That's even better. Wow. So you're really dedicated. You go to all of them. That's awesome. Is there somebody that was like your mentor or that encouraged you to join CI and get more involved?
Yeah, well, once I joined E&H Graham, and I was there for 4 years before I went to the McGowan companies, George Nowak was the individual who really pushed me into the national, a lot of things in CAI, until somebody really mentors you and pushes you into that world, you really might not know it exists. And one of my favorite things in the CAI world is the Foundation for Community Association Research, which I was one of the original members of the FCAR think tank. And Mark Markell, an attorney in Texas, I don't know if he convinced me to go into that, join it, or if he pulled me into that, but I've learned quite a bit from him as well. And I really think those are 2 of the biggest or best and most impressive attorneys in the country for this. That's
awesome. Sometimes it just takes someone to kind of say, hey, and kind of pull you in and, just get you more involved. Because I know that I have some CD mentors that did that for me, that kind of said, hey, you need to do this more, you need to be involved in this, and it makes such a huge difference to have somebody kind of take you under their wing a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most successful chapters that I've seen, and you're right, I've pretty much seen them all, it's the members, the board members, and every group has a core, and they make new members and new sponsors so welcome, and that makes success for their chapters.
Absolutely. What is your most challenging thing you're facing right now in the industry?
Well, there are some general things that have been for the last 20 years, and that really has to do with people move into a community association, and as shocking as it is, they don't read governing documents. They really don't know what they're moving into. And the first time they may look at the governing documents is when they get one of those lovely little letters, saying, you can't park your commercial truck in your driveway. And he says, well, that's my business. What else can I do? And the next thing is really the volunteer board members. And I live and breathe volunteer board members. I did a training for one board 2 nights ago. They don't really understand the nature and scope of their position. A lot of them sort of feel like they're employees when their role is really to make decisions and delegate. That's really what they're there for. Unit owner civility and the inability to communicate. It seems like disputes happen, before people really sit down and talk with themselves, their neighbors. Boards and unit owners don't treat the association like the business it is, because they are businesses. And if you look at any of the budgets, these budgets are are not even necessarily small business budgets. Some of them are ginormous. Some of them are well over millions of dollars. And then the last thing that is really frustrating to me is people don't understand the dearth of resources that CAI provides, and the fact that 90% of it's free, and the fact that there are people out there who, I just know people in your chapter, from Jim Rebson and Karen O'Connor and Russ.
Yeah.
These people will come and sit down with your board anytime, and they probably would even bring them donuts. They don't realize what resource they have, and I think the national. I'm very proud having been part of this. What we did a few years ago was the fact that a building, an association, could, for $250, their entire, up to 15 members of the board and committees can become members. And you get the member discounts and all of this. And to me, you have 100 units, $2.50 a year. So your leaders, are members and have access to those things that just the average person going to their website might not have.
Yes, and the CI Exchange. I love the CI Exchange. I tell all of our, that's probably like one of my biggest sales pitches to board members is the CI Exchange. There, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can just post those questions and talk to the huge CI community all over. And I think that's one of the best resources that we have.
And one of the things I tell, because, one of my national roles, I spent, 6 years on the Business Partners Council.
Yeah.
It was one of the 3 groups that basically are part of the national leadership. And one of the things I tell people, say, well, I'm a local, I only worked in St. Louis in Missouri. And I say, well, there's one thing that makes your participation in the national worthwhile. For example, Karen and Jim are, although very friendly competitors, they're competitors. However, Karen can call me over in Ohio, or somebody else in Texas, or somebody else in New York, and run by certain ideas without either of them, being threatened by the other. And just having that resource. I deal with, with D&O claims, and the D&O policies is really my passion. And I have attorneys in pretty much every state that I can call and will take my calls, who I know, who I've sat down and broken bread or had drinks at a national, and also being, a fellow of the College of Community Association Lawyers and having the CIRMS designation, so you meet people, and that I think is incredible. And again, you go to a national and you buy somebody a cup of coffee, and they'll teach you everything you need to know about whatever subject you're doing, so I think that's an awesome resource to be able to use.
Yes, that's a great way to describe it too, because there's so many of our members here in St. Louis and even Kansas City, or even at the lake, that maybe have never went to a national conference, so they don't even understand just the magnitude of it and how much they can get and how they can, talk to other people that are maybe experiencing the same kind of, situations on, in a different state, and they could, gather information from them. So that's a great point to make.
Right now, one of the other things that unfortunately have been involved in the past 2 years, first it was the pandemic, and if I ever hear somebody ask me one more time, can we open our pool? It's just like I'll just send them my 9-minute video to explain. You can do whatever you want, but if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
So, and then now with the Champlain Tower collapse, which God forbid it was such a horrible disaster.
Yeah.
People around the country, think any high rise have those type of issues, and people aren't following it. And since they know that I'm the nerd who follows it, I get lots of calls and stuff. And thank goodness we only insured it till 2014, so we're not in the mix. But, a lot of people are concerned. Insurance companies are concerned. Are they going to be hit with, with 30 million, 50 million, 100 million? Even New York. I have buildings in New York that I insure probably over 500. And some of them were built in the late 1800s, in Manhattan, and I'll tell you, they're never going to fall down. Part of the facade may fall down and kill somebody, but, not the building's not going to collapse. So.
Yeah. Wow. Big topics there, right?
Yes.
Let's soften it up. So do you have a favorite CEI event that you like to go to?
Well, I love going to the national because I just see so many of my friends and colleagues, and I'm one of those guys who likes to go to a lot of the courses. I mean, I love to teach and present at the conferences, but I also like learning things because, you can only learn from what other people are experiencing, and most of the time, either attorneys or board members or managers usually have a topic that rises out of one of their experiences. So one of the things I tell boards is you read that, and every mistake that another board has made hopefully will eliminate that mistake from your mistake repertoire. So so that's something. But by far my favorite is the law seminar. Being an attorney and an insurance professional, it's just an opportunity to get real good, solid courses and learn things. And a lot of people, when they go to national, because a lot of people go to national are people who go to national and are usually very involved, and they may think that some of the courses aren't quite as in depth as they may be. You go to the law conference and you're going to get in depth. And one of the nice things about the law conference is I think the last one they had over 600 attorneys, and we're getting up to having 100 or so insurance professionals. And in the CIRMS Insurance Master Program, which is led by Karen's been heavily involved in that. With Trees, for anybody who knows anything about statistics in the insurance world will know Cliff. And we have a lot of the attorneys come to those programs because, as much as lawyers don't want to deal with insurance, that's really, if they don't understand it. And so that's an opportunity. And plus, it's an opportunity to break bread, and attorneys like to take, their friends and colleagues to nice dinners. So
that's always nice too.
That's been really nice. So.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite CEI memory that you'd like to share? Probably a lot of them. Probably a lot of good ones.
Yeah, I do have a lot of good ones. I think, and I'm trying to remember, I think the first time I spoke was a great memory. I did, and this is what I remember, it was in Alexandria, Virginia, when it was, I forgot what hotel it was at, but I did a seminar for Community Association Manager Errors and Omissions, and just having done that and getting through that first one, opened the floodgates, and now I think over 250 presentations, and
wow.
But doing that first one, you just, that people get to know you and people start to come to you for advice and questions. And so that's really a great memory. As you indicated, we're members. This is the first year we haven't been a member because we're doing some changes of the national. But, I think it was 3 years ago, completely unbeknownst to me, I got the award in excellence in chapter leadership, and and that I think had to do primarily with the fact that I've become a resource to so many chapters, and that's great for them, but it's even better for me because I learn so much more. You sit at a lunch table with people in Missouri or people in Florida or people in New York. You really get to start to see really what opportunities are out there for people. So, and another memory I'll tell you that has been good, on the National Business Partners Council, one of the things that we do, I think they're still doing it, is at the national conference, we have what we title our annual business partners meeting. And business partners pretty much is everybody who provides, other than managers, to the associations, lawyers, doctors, psychiatrists, maybe, landscapers, bankers, and being able to sit down with a new member who just is trying for the first time to exhibit and giving them an idea of the resources, bringing in Amy Repke, who is the head of marketing, and the amount of assistance they'll give people, and a lot of free stuff by profiling you nationally and things, and those are, it just builds credibility, and when people come back and say, God, you know what, I think this was really a worthwhile conference for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good feedback for sure. If you had a business partner that maybe was in your chapter, or maybe even in our chapter, that was wanting to get maybe make a bigger presence on the national platform, because I know that you've been, you serve on many committees and different task force, and you've been on the national board. How would you recommend they get more involved and have those opportunities on the national platform?
Well, the first thing I would do is, in going to the national, you have to go to the national and introduce yourself to people who are on the board. They're all wearing the special little gold name tag. That's one. Electing yourself, or leadership in CAI is all based on self-nomination, and that really has people have to sit down and think. And I've helped guide people as to really what would probably be helpful for them. And so getting involved in one of the, if you're a manager, in the manager council, homeowner leaders, which we always have need for more homeowner leaders because we want more representation.
Absolutely.
Of the homeowner leaders. I mean, they should be pounding the door. And I'll tell you, some of them that we've had have been such phenomenal contributors. So doing that, one thing that I recommend, because a lot of times when you look at these and they're asking what's your local participation, what's your national participation, which, like with a lot of things, you can't be participating if you're not already in it. And I was introduced, as I indicated, by Mark Markell to the Foundation for Community Association Research, and in particular the think tank. And I've basically been involved with, and significantly with, 3, and now with a 4th task force, 2 of them that I was part of leading. The one which resulted in Wired, which is the brochure that we published. The other one, which is so unbelievably timely, is Breaking Point. Breaking Point. Right.
Mm-hmm. Aging
which we published at the end of 2020, and in light of Champlain Towers, it's just like, oh my God, did we jinx it? It's crazy. And I did one which really ended up fizzling out, but you don't know until you start, which was really dealing with short-term rentals, because it really wasn't something that was conducive to a national part. But like with all the successes, sometimes you find out that there's no sense in wasting any more time.
Sure.
So I would recommend, because there's no limit to joining a task force, but you meet people, especially people who are leading those task force, and they see you working and you get to know people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best way to get involved. You just make a presence, and
Yep.
you don't have to be a brain surgeon. You don't have to, be the biggest expert. And like with any boards, even like with association boards, we're not looking for the people who are experts. We're looking for people who, can contribute.
Yes.
Average people, people who can sit down and think. One of the challenges that boards have is they think common sense and reason necessarily have a big place in governance. And a lot of times, you have to keep in mind that it doesn't always work that way, because you have your governing documents, you have statutes, and we all know how legislatures do statutes. So I think that's really the best ways to get more involved, and getting on your local, aiming to be a president, because then when you get the president, you go, or the president-elect, you go to a national, you get some more training, and it opens up your eyes. And there's age is not an issue.
No, yeah.
One of the things I do, one of my favorite things in CAI is mentoring. And I have a number of people that I mentor, and I think right now I have 2 currently on the Business Partners Council. I encourage them and help them, do presentations. I have one who is, she's presenting almost 2 or 3 times a month in the Carolinas, so that's another thing is, and for me, it's like I didn't touch a D&O policy until I walked into Ian Graham January 3rd, 2001. And now I think I'm one of the most knowledgeable in that area. And it's just because I started teaching. And you start writing, because like with anything, if you're going to teach it, you have to know it.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
that is great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice for those business partners or managers or any members that are, maybe intimidated by the national platform, but
right.
they know that they have something to contribute.
Right.
Good advice for sure. So what if, I'm sure you probably do this all the time, but what is your best sales pitch to get somebody to maybe join CEI? What would you say to somebody that doesn't know who we are?
Well, I usually meet those people when they're in deep, I won't mention what they're in deep, step in it. And I say, you know what? Like 2 nights ago, there was a board in Cape Cod, and I non-renewed them. And they were concerned, pushed back, and I reviewed it deeper, and I looked and I said, you know what? I'll renew your policy, but you have to agree to do an 1.5 hour training with me. And they turned out to be a phenomenal board that made one silly mistake. And that one silly mistake, really, the only reason they really made it became silly is because they didn't read the 30 various articles about signs in a yard or in windows, with emotional support animals. A lot of people think that there's, they can handle it, and these are things that joining the CAI, you don't have to recreate the wheel. Like I was saying before, you learn from other people's mistakes. I think that's why my youngest of my 4 kids really has had a much, he creates his own drama, but he has had enough seeing his older siblings' mistakes that he's smart enough not to make those mistakes.
There
and
you
so
go.
joining CAI, again, you're in one board, and you're sitting at lunch with people from 2 other associations, and then you say, you compare notes. Our management company does such and such. Oh, your management company does that? They said they won't do that, or different things like that. So it's just a resource. And I'll tell you, as horrible as the pandemic has been, and I think you've seen it because you are one of, I think, the best in the country at this, is the amount of education that we've done virtually is, people love it because they don't have to take a whole afternoon. They may go to a bowling event or something else. And at those events, they can just do those events, and they do all the presentations and educational things from their desk. And people, I think, really like that.
Yeah.
So, once they learn about it, I don't think it's an easy sell when they start learning about it. So
I agree.
Especially at cost.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Tell us something that maybe our members might not know or expect about you.
Well, I can tell them that I'm not the smartest of my siblings. And I think all my siblings would probably agree to that. I've spoken and presented physically in over 33 states.
Wow, that's amazing.
And one of the nice things, and this really came into play being on the National Board of Trustees, because I would, visit your chapter, and your chapter has its own personality and own priorities. And then you go to California and they have a chapter that you would say, is this the same organization?
Totally different. I know, we all have our own little feel. Yeah.
Right. And then there are some in various states where they almost do nothing.
Yeah.
That's very few. And then there's some that just, they're huge. I mean, you look at the Washington Metro, and their trade show is really as big almost as the national show, and Washington State. So they're all very, very different. So, I mean, that's been a benefit for me. And as long as my CEO doesn't know where I am, as many of those as I want.
There you go. I'm sure your CEO appreciates you being at all of them.
He wouldn't admit it, but he appreciates it.
Now comes the fun time. I told Joel that we have a new category. I have a favorites category, and Joel picked the favorites category for the rapid fire questions. So I'm excited to do this. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What's your favorite fast food restaurant chain?
Burger King with their Impossible Burger.
Their onion rings are really good too. Burger King. I haven't tried the Impossible Burger. I've heard good things about it, so I guess I need to try it.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite TV sitcom? It can be old or new.
Yeah, well, Seinfeld was one of mine, and I still love to go when I'm late at night on YouTube and see some of the outtakes of that, and so I find that very enjoyable.
That's one of those ones that you can watch over and over and over. At least with me, there's a couple sitcoms that are like that, and that is one I can watch over and over and over again. That's a good one. Do you have a favorite band?
Does it have to be a band, or can it be any musician?
Any musician.
Van Morrison by far is my single favorite artist.
Yeah, that's good. That's
showing
good.
My age, but
no, he's one of my favorites too. So, do you have a favorite type of music that you like to listen to?
I would say Van Morrison style, Nora Jones.
Yeah, that's okay.
I grew up with Carole King and James Taylor.
Oh yeah.
But I love all types of music. I was watching on YouTube last night, the tribute for George Harrison where they played Billy Preston, sang My Lord, and it's you just can't beat that kind of
Yeah. Funny fact, my very first CI conference was in New Orleans, and me and my husband went to Mother's, if you've ever been to Mother's in New Orleans.
No, I didn't.
Guess who we saw was James Taylor there. He was getting lunch. He was there for the Jazz Festival. So that was, I love James Taylor. So favorite state you have visited? That's got to be a hard one because you've probably been to all of them.
Um, well, I really like Washington State because two of my grandchildren live there with their parents. Same thing with Philadelphia. I got two other there. I really think Connecticut, I've been very involved with Connecticut with their chapter and their CED, who I'm sure you know.
Yes, love her.
She just, is very professional. And then in Austin, when Joe Dunce was the CED there, you guys are just people who make me welcome when I come to that. And I don't have to kill myself to be prepared. You guys prepare half of it anyway. And so those really have been my favorite states.
Aww. Do you have a favorite place that you like to travel with your family if you guys have a family vacation?
What's a family vacation?
I know. I hear that one.
Yeah.
We don't do it often either.
We actually finally, a few years ago, we decided every other summer we're going to do a family as it grows with everybody. The first year we did Cape May in New Jersey, which we rented a big house, and that we really loved that. Next year, I'd been asked to go speak at Cinnamon Lake in Ohio. Apparently we have 21 lake associations in in Ohio, and they wanted me to come down and speak, and it turned out that they had some Airbnbs down there, and we ended up going to one of those for the next time, and that was fun. So that's good.
How many grandkids do you have? I know you mentioned you have a few.
Yeah, at this point we have four. We have 4, 2.5, 1.5, and 5 months.
Oh, they're all little. Christmas is going to be so much fun this year. Do you have a favorite breed of dog?
Yes, I do. A Labrador Retriever.
Oh, yes. That's a good one. Favorite childhood memory?
Graduating high school.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Actually, some of my best memories were, looking at me now, this could go to what people might not know. I played a lot of sports in high school, and playing football, playing basketball, playing baseball, those were great memories for me. So that type of stuff.
That's awesome. That leads into the next question. Do you have a favorite sports team?
Yeah, it's UCLA basketball.
Okay. Awesome.
Where I graduated and married into a father-in-law who had season tickets.
Oh, that's nice.
So I got to go to a lot of games over the years.
That's awesome. So that ends our rapid fire question. So now we give you 30 seconds to talk about either your favorite charity or your company or a little bit of both. So go.
Well, for the past few years, my favorite charity, somewhat self-serving, has been the Foundation for Community Association Research. So by putting, so much time and effort in seeing the large scope of people, you have 350,000 associations out there. That's been good. McGowan Companies is a large enterprise now. I was there, I think, started 25 people, now we're over 300.
Wow.
And my division is community associations, and we have package policies, we have D&O, fidelity crime, cyber, which I'm spending a lot of time working and trying to get people to understand. We just had our first ransomware claim with a condominium, which people are saying, well, it never happened in our community. It is, and it will continue to happen. And we sell through local brokers, such as Jim and Karen. They'll come to us for certain products. I have a lot of competitors, but a lot of people come because they know we just don't sell insurance. We really sort of live and breathe risk management. So
that's great. That's a great, reminder to our members that the foundation is always looking for donations. So if you have a little extra to give, they would really appreciate it. And they're doing some great things. You guys just did a new, what's like the latest project that you've worked on? I'll let you tell about it.
Well, the one that I worked on, the latest is one we can, which was the short-term rentals. Before that was the breaking point. And I've just resent that out to so many people because, it really hits home with what needs to be done. And Absolutely. So that's one. I know that they just recently did one. I think Jessica Towle and a couple of other of the we have very powerful women in this organization.
Love it.
And in high leadership, Jessica is going to be next year's president.
Yes, that's great.
And this year we have, Jim Dodson, and then the prior two, were both women. So they did one on, I think, figuring out ways to bring in new managers in CAMS. And that's really, I think, for the association world is a big issue.
It is.
And people just don't understand it. Even within the CAM world, there are a lot of different jobs, whether you're interested in accounting and bookkeeping or administration or outside work. And there's room for lots of people. And one of the nice things is CAI has so much education for CAMs that you can really learn a lot very quickly, as quick as you want to.
Yeah.
And when you get to your PCAM, it's like having a master's, almost a doctorate degree in management. And so, it's a very respectable profession, in my opinion.
I agree. I don't know how they do it. I admire them because I don't know if I could do it. But Joel, thank you for your time today. Thanks for doing this interview with us, and we hope to see everybody next time on Heart to Heart Interviews with CI Heartland.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Bye.
you.